There are people who set an alarm for midnight just so they don't miss the chance to wish someone a happy birthday. They remember the birthdays of friends, family members, and even people who once briefly passed through their lives. But when it comes to their own birthday, sometimes they treat it like any other day. No cake, no expectations, no need for a room full of people. We often assume that people who don't celebrate their birthday are lonely. But psychology suggests the opposite. Sometimes, the calmest person on their birthday isn't someone who has been forgotten, but someone who no longer needs the world to confirm that they are worthy of being loved. The most revealing thing about a person isn't how they love. It's how they treat their own birthday. Look around you. Someone right now is blowing up balloons, ordering a custom cake, sending reminders to 50 people just to make sure no one forgets. And somewhere else, maybe in the next room, maybe in your own mirror, someone just checked their phone, saw the date, and thought, "Oh, it's today?" Then put the phone down and went back to work. No cake, no dinner reservation, no post, nothing. Here's what most people assume. That second person must be sad, lonely, broken even. But what if that assumption is completely wrong? What if the person who doesn't celebrate their birthday isn't the one who needs your sympathy, but the one who has quietly figured out something the rest of us are still chasing? Because here's the truth nobody talks about. The way you treat your birthday tells a psychologist more about your inner world than almost any other question they could ask you. It reveals your relationship with time, with people, with your own sense of worth. And depending on which type you are, there are exactly three. What drives you goes much deeper than, "I just don't like parties." So before you judge the person who skips their own birthday, or before you quietly wonder why you do the same, stay with me. Because by the end of this, you won't just understand them. You'll understand yourself. Think about the last time you planned something for your birthday. Maybe you sent a few messages, mentioned it casually in conversation, half hoping someone would remember without you having to ask. And then the day came. Some people showed up. Some didn't. Some said, "Happy birthday," at 11 p.m., not because they remembered, but because a notification reminded them. And somewhere in that moment, something quietly shifted inside you. Not a breakdown, not tears, just a small, silent decision. Next year, I won't expect anything. Psychologists have a name for what happens next. It's called learned helplessness. The moment your brain stops reaching for something not because it doesn't want it anymore, but because it has been disappointed too many times to believe it's worth trying. It doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, quietly. One forgotten birthday, one half-hearted message, one party where you looked around the room and realized the people who truly matter weren't there. And your mind, trying to protect you, makes a deal with itself. If I stop wanting it, it can't hurt me anymore. So, you stop decorating. You stop hinting. You stop counting down the days. And when someone asks, "Are you doing anything for your birthday?" you smile and say, "Oh, I don't really celebrate." Calm, unbothered, convincing. But underneath that answer, sometimes, is not peace. It's a scar that learned to stay quiet. And here is where it gets complicated. Because not everyone who says, "I don't celebrate," is carrying pain. Some of them mean it completely. No wounds, no wall, no hidden story, just a different relationship with the day itself. So how do you tell the difference? How do you know whether someone's calm on their birthday is built on healing or built on hiding? That's exactly what the next part will show you. There's a second kind of person, and they're harder to spot because from the outside, they look exactly the same as the first. They don't decorate. They don't make plans. They don't send hints into the universe hoping someone will catch them. But the difference is this. When their birthday arrives and the phone stays quiet, they don't feel the sting of being forgotten. They simply feel nothing missing. Not emptiness. Not numbness. Not the silence after a wound. Just stillness. The same stillness they carry on any other Tuesday. Psychology has a name for what anchors these people. It's called self-determination theory. The idea that genuine well-being doesn't come from applause, from candles, from a room full of people singing your name. It comes from something no one else can give you or take away. The quiet certainty that you already know who you are. These are the people who stopped needing a date on the calendar to feel alive. Not because life made them cold, but because somewhere along the way, life made them whole. They celebrate differently. Not once a year with cake and noise, but in small, private moments that most people walk past without noticing. The morning coffee tastes exactly right. The conversation that went somewhere real. The work that meant something, even if no one clapped for them. Every ordinary day holds a quiet kind of joy that doesn't need an audience. And here's the part that might be hardest to hear. This kind of peace cannot be performed. It cannot be faked for the camera or dressed up in captions. You either have it, or you're still on your way to it. And both are okay. Because the journey toward not needing the world's applause is one of the most honest things a person can do. It means you've stopped outsourcing your sense of worth. Stopped waiting for someone else to decide whether you deserve to feel special. You've chosen, quietly, without announcement, to be your own witness. And maybe that's the real birthday gift. Not the one wrapped in paper. Not the one that arrives at midnight with a notification. But the one you give yourself. The moment you stop measuring your value by how many people remember the day you were born. So here is the question that's been waiting since the beginning. Which one are you? And more importantly, which one do you want to become? There is a question most people never stop long enough to ask themselves. Not, what do I want for my birthday? But something quieter, something more honest. Do I celebrate myself only when others show up to confirm that I should? Because somewhere between the balloons and the silence, between the midnight wishes and the untouched cake, there is a truth most of us spend years avoiding. Maybe we were never really celebrating the day. Maybe we were celebrating the feeling of being chosen, of being remembered, of mattering enough for someone to pause their life and say, today, you are worth this moment. And there is nothing wrong with wanting that. Wanting to be remembered is not weakness. Wanting to be celebrated is not childish. It is one of the most human things about us. But here is what no one tells you when you are young. The people who need that confirmation the most are often the ones who received it the least. And the people who seem to need it the least may have simply walked through enough disappointment to build that confirmation inside themselves. That is not coldness. That is not indifference. That is one of the quietest forms of strength a person can carry. So if you love big birthdays, the cake, the noise, the room full of people, the messages, the attention, that is not weakness. That is honesty. And honesty is always worth respecting. But if you are someone who lets the day pass quietly, who smiles when someone asks and says, I don't really celebrate my birthday, then ask yourself one thing. Is that peace? Or is that protection? Because there is a difference between someone who has found their own light and someone who stopped reaching for light because reaching hurt too much. One is freedom. The other is a wound wearing the mask of wisdom. And only you know which one is true. Not your friends. Not your family. Not the number of birthday messages on your screen. Only you. So whatever your next birthday looks like, loud or quiet, crowded or still, celebrated or simply lived, make sure it comes from a place you actually chose. Not from disappointment. Not from fear. Not from pretending you don't care, because caring once hurt too much. But from a genuine answer to the only question that has ever mattered. Do you know your own worth? Even when the world forgets to remind you. Because if you do, then maybe your birthday was never just one day on a calendar. Maybe it was every quiet moment you chose yourself without waiting for anyone else to do it first.